And we are live. Okay, everybody. So I just want to introduce you to my sister, Alyssa. She is going to take us through this book study, and I'm just going to go ahead and give her the floor.
Okay, so Love and Respect. I told my sister I was reading this book like a month ago, and then she immediately asked me to do a book study about it. That wasn't a push. Our big sister's 4. So today we're covering the first 5 chapters, 1 through 5, of the Love and Respect book. If you haven't read it, I'm going to cover most of like what he said. I only summarize like a little bit. I'm mainly going to go over my notes. So the intro, he starts off with saying, love alone is not enough. Where love is vital, especially for the wife, what we have missed is the husband's need for respect. And then in chapter 1, he discusses the crazy cycle, which amazing that he put that analogy to it. The crazy cycle goes around and around when a woman does not feel she is loved and reacts in ways that are unrespectful to her husband. And then her husband does not feel respected and he acts in ways that are unloving. And just around and around we go, the crazy cycle. He goes back and discusses some things of his childhood where he can see this happening before he realized what it was. He talks about how his mom had a pretty steady, good job and had her own income, and his parents were pretty unstable, getting together, getting separated. But he said that his mom had a good job, giving her the ability to live without relying on his dad's income. And she would often make financial decisions without him, which led him to feel like he wasn't needed, which led her to feel like she was unloved. Talked about how his dad would get angry over little things, crushing his mom's spirit in return, which I can see. Growing up, I remember people telling me that I needed to be pretty independent. I remember specifically my dad telling me that I needed to be a strong, independent woman and not rely on a man, which has led some arguments in my life where I've made financial decisions apart from my husband. And now I realize that that was disrespectful. He goes on to another situation where he discusses a Christmas present that his wife made him. She made him a jacket, and when he opened it, he didn't react the way that she thought he should react. And so she immediately assumed that he didn't like it, and she immediately got upset. And in return, her false accusation of how he should have responded made him feeling judged. And then I think one of the last instances he talks about in chapter 1 is where he discusses a trip home that him and his wife took after a Bible study, where his wife was trying to tell him that during the Bible study, he was being boring, intimidating, that when he sat in silence, it would intimidate people and sometimes seem insensitive. And then she also goes on to say that he tried. Their voices rose, and she tried saying what he needed to do better to correct him, trying to make him. And she began shouting, into yourself. That right there is when they realized that you can be right but wrong at the top of your voice. So she may have tried to give him advice and make him aware of things that he could work on, but her delivery was off. I feel like a lot of times our delivery as a wife can be off. We could be wrapped in our own agenda of taking care of the house, taking care of the kids. You know, if you work yourselves, all the things, and then the moment your husband comes around, you want to talk to him about all the things you've been thinking about talking to him all day, but the moment is probably not the right moment as soon as he gets home from work himself. So I like that he does like little Bible quotes on some of the pages to the side. So Song of Solomon's is one of the things he puts on the side of the page, and it says in 2:15, every couple, it talks about the little foxes that ruin the vineyards. It says every couple learns about daily conflicts, just like the little foxes that ruin the vineyards in Song of Solomon. That would be like forgetting birthdays, wet towels left on the bed, which he described that he did often, getting irritated by little noises. Those are the little foxes that ruin our vineyard. Something that really stood out to me in this chapter was tension has a way of tearing down your self-image. On the heels of confrontation, when she would critique him, he would feel he could never be good enough. On the heels of family conflict, his wife felt she was a failure as a mother and wife. I can really relate to that. I don't know if everybody else can, but I can really relate to feeling a failure just because of conflict. So he brings up to us that Ephesians 5:33, which we all know, Ephesians 5:33, husbands must love their wives as he loves himself, and wives must respect their husbands. So a husband is to obey the command to love, even if his wife does not obey this command to respect. And wives are to obey this command to respect, even if their husband does not obey the command to love. That means a husband is even called to love a disrespectful wife, and wives are called to respect an unloving husband. We're not doing it because they earn it. We're doing it because that's God's command to us, to respect them anyway. The husbands may be won without a word by the behavior of their wife. So a disbelieving husband or a disobeying to the word and can still be won over by our display of respect to them. As they observe your chaste and respectful behavior, they are won over. That's 1 Peter 3:1-2. So I like that he decided to make the decision. He talks about making the decision to believe that she does not intend to act in ways that are disrespectful. So wives, we need to make the decision to believe that your spouse does not intend to be unloving, even if it seems he comes across that way. Then I go on to chapter 2, where he talks about how couples communicate in code. He brings to light how when a wife says, I have nothing to wear, it's completely different meaning than when a man says, I have nothing to wear. They would mean they have nothing clean. And we would mean we've worn all these things. We don't want to wear any of the things that we have already. Just same sentence, but mean completely different things. He talks about us having different sunglasses and hearing aids, and I like that analogy. That women have pink sunglasses and hearing aids, and men have blue sunglasses and hearing aids. He discusses one couple's argument where they had their 10th anniversary, and the husband finally remembered the anniversary, went out and got a card, and it ended up being a birthday card. He didn't even know it was a birthday card. How disrespectful that he didn't even read the card that he bought, right? But she takes it as completely unloving, says that he cares more about his car than he does her. And in the end, it was just honest mistake. Like little bitty things that just spin us around the crazy cycle. So craziness is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different effect. He talks about another sentence that he spoke to his wife when she was cleaning the house, listening to the radio, and he was being distracted by the radio because it was on and he was trying to think. And he says, "Are you listening to that?" to his wife. And she thought he meant, Are you listening to that? You need to listen to that. And he meant, are you listening to that? I would like you to shut it off. They didn't communicate that. And he talks about how the argument went after just one sentence. They both thought different things. We often focus on our own needs instead of the needs of the other person. Pink and blue, sunglasses and hearing aids. And then it goes on. He brings up Titus 2:4, which I'd never paid attention to Titus much before in respect, so I had to look this up. Titus 2:4, older women told to help younger women to love their husbands and children. But he says that this isn't the love, like agape love, unconditional love. He says this is the phileo kind of love, the brotherly kind of love. So older women need to help younger women learn to phileo love their husbands and children. He brought it very much to light when he went in depth on this and said, in the daily wear and tear of life, wives are in danger of becoming discouraged, leading to impatient, unfriendly, scolding, sighing. Yep, I am guilty of all of that. After all, there's always something or someone who needs correcting. Yep, feel like I live my life looking at what I can correct next. It says your motives are filled with agape, but your methods lack phileo, the brotherly kind of love. Sometimes women criticize their husbands out of love, but he receives it as contempt for who he is and feels disrespected. He'll distance himself to prevent things from escalating, and she sees it as cold or uncaring, or even immature as he walks out. That's what he calls stonewalling her. I had like a light bulb moment. That's exactly what my husband does, as I'm sure many husbands do. You get into an argument, maybe over something little, and they don't want to talk. They shut down. Stonewalling. Chapter 3 discusses why. We feel respect needs to be earned, but we must give unconditional respect to our husbands. Like I said, that's our command from God in Ephesians 5:33 to respect your husbands. Not respect your husbands if they earn it. Not respect your husbands if they do this. Respect your husbands. This looks like displaying a respectful facial expression and tone when he fails to be the man she wants. You could communicate his unloving behavior in a respectful manner. If there is an issue, find the right time, the right place, the right tone and facial expression. Not rolling your eyes if he says something that you may in the past roll your eyes for. Because we think so differently, we may not even relate to what he considers respect or lack of it. You could be communicating disrespect without even meaning to, because we see through pink sunglasses and they see through blue sunglasses. We need to learn to respect in ways that are meaningful to our spouse. Respect energizes a husband's soul. God made him that way. Women should be respected also, he goes on to say, but it doesn't drive our soul. Love drives a woman's soul. Men can't breathe without respect, and women can't breathe without love. Another thing that I had learned was RESPECT, the song Respect by Aretha Franklin, we all know, wasn't actually written by her. It was written by Otis Redding, a song to his wife. So I had to look that up. If you can look it up and find it without Aretha Franklin, it sounds so much different coming from a man asking for respect, saying that he needs respect. God created men to be bigger and stronger, to be first among equals, first to provide, to protect, and even to die if necessary. They think of it as honor. Something in a man longs for his wife to look up at him as he fulfills this role. When she does, it motivates him, not because he's arrogant, but because of how God has made him. Women thirst to be valued as first in importance. I have told my husband before, I want to be the first person on your list of people that you need to take care of. I want to be first. I want to be above the kids, as I should be. But I've never realized before that he should be the one to be respected at all times. Chapter 4. I like that he, as a man, at first, I took this as, oh, he's going on and on about being respectful, arrogant, right? But chapter 4, he talks about how men aren't as big and strong on the inside emotionally as they are vulnerable to what sounds like contempt. They actually are full of emotion. They don't question whether you love them, but often question sometimes without even knowing how to describe it if you respect them. He has lots of little inlets from letters from people throughout this book, which I love, like the testimonies that he has throughout this book about women's talking about how they tried giving respect to their husbands and seen amazing outcomes. And men opening up and saying, yeah, that's how I felt. I just didn't know how to put words to it. Proverbs 12:4 in the NIV says, a wife of noble character is her husband's crown, but a disgraceful wife is like decay in his bones. Wives criticize or confront their husbands because they want to get their feelings out on the table and settle things. They want to talk about it. We want to solve things. It often creates tension in a man. And he talks about how a man's blood pressure and heart rate rise much higher and stay elevated much longer than a woman's, which leads to him stonewalling because he becomes quiet, says nothing, goes off on his own. He sees this as self-preservation because his blood pressure and heart rate rise a whole lot faster than ours do. He sees stonewalling as a way to calm down and not escalate things. She sees it as rejection and unloving, right? The crazy cycle goes on, and the more she feels unloved, the more she complains. The more we complain, the more he withdraws and stonewalls. We criticize them to change, or critique them, if you don't like the word criticize, critique them to change, to be more loving, when in reality, criticism will never produce love in our husbands. A typical wife fails to realize that her self-image often rests on what she believes her husband thinks of her. That was another light bulb moment for me. I definitely set my self-image on what my husband thinks of me. He matters more to me than any other adult on earth. And this morning we discussed in our growth group that sometimes we're scared to talk to our husbands about things. Even after all this time of being married, we're scared to talk to our husbands about things or bring up things to them sometimes. Well, this is why. Because our self-image rests on what we believe he thinks of us. Okay. Here is an insert of a wife's letter to him. And I really like what she said here. On page 63, this lady wrote him and said, my strength and verbal skills aren't helping my marriage. I have come across to my husband as too strong and too controlling, and too demanding and too critical. I have been his mommy and his teacher and his Holy Spirit. It's my own personal nature to lead and direct and control and fix and do right and make others do the same. He is scared of my tongue. I don't know if anybody else can relate to that, but I definitely have seen that has happened in my relationship, that I could come across as too critical, too strong, trying to fix him, just like we do our kids and other things. So
I'm
we
going
need
to
to
say
remember
something
do
real
what?
quick. Sorry, Liz. I just
Yeah.
wanted to say something because I agree with that so much. I've just recently talked about that with Mitchell, kind of like what we were talking about this morning. Also, I apologize if I come across loud. I'm walking on the street. But so much of that, I think, stems from because we care so much.
Yeah.
And then we don't realize that we come across a little bit as like nagging or like their mom. You're like, do this, do this.
Mhm.
But I tell that to Mitchell all the time. I was like, I'm really not trying to be overbearing or mean. I just care so much.
Yeah.
And a lot of it I know is delivery. Like the delivery just got to be better.
Mm-hmm. And that's why I like how he brought up the fact that men aren't as big as strong as they seem. They actually are full of emotion and they're full of fear that we're disrespectful or trying to be bearing. Did you have anything else to say, Jill?
No, you're good.
Okay. I wanted to give you space. So if you have anything else, feel free. Communication. I like this. Right or wrong, men interpret their world through the respect grid. So daily, we need to ask ourselves one question. Is what I'm about to say or do going to come across as respectful or disrespectful? For me, I have tried this, and it is so easy in my own home to ask myself this question before I come to my husband, before I say something, before I respond to something that he has said to me, whether it's going to be respectful or disrespectful. It is so hard for me to remember this when I'm outside my home for some reason, when we're around friends or family, where I feel more comfortable and in a relaxed social environment. So for me, I need to work on doing that outside the home also. It says not all men are conscious of their need for respect, especially in today's culture where they would be called arrogant. Men are commanded to love because they don't love naturally, and women are commanded to respect because they don't respect naturally. We must conquer any feelings that he has to earn respect. He doesn't have to earn our respect. And I've had that conversation with my husband also, where I've tried to let him know that I'm trying to be more respectful, that he is ultimately the head of the household, that I respect his decisions, that I want him to be the leader, and he doesn't, like they say in chapter 4, he doesn't realize that he even needs respect. He doesn't realize that that's how he's feeling or the lack of feeling, because today's culture would show that as being arrogant if we're not 50-50, and I put him as the head. Today's culture would tell you that's arrogance. But that's not the word. That's not the way God intended him. God intended men to lead. God intended men to have respect. They crave it. They desire it. They are energized from it. Just like we are energized when our husbands show love to us. Chapter 5. Go on to chapter 5. Okay. So this whole page 76, I have like highlighted. If you've made it this far in your book, I love page 76. It says, when I talk about respecting your husband, I do not mean being a doormat, because many times I've talked to people about respect in the past, and women are like, the same as the world. What are you doing? That's going to put them above. You should be equal. So he says, I do not mean being a doormat. That doesn't mean being quiet, burying your brains, never showing your leadership ability, or never disagreeing in the slightest way. That's not respect. That's cowering down. I do not mean that he is superior and you're inferior. nor do I want you to ignore your hurts and vulnerabilities. It just talks about our presentation, our facial expressions, our tone of voice. We need to be respectful. We can bring up issues, but in a respectful way. One wife confesses, I would listen in on the phone conversations to other people as her husband was on the phone to correct any mistakes and see if what he's saying is right about a situation or a story that he's telling. I have done that. How crazy, right? Even in a small setting group, talking to friends, and my husband would say, oh yeah, it was 2 weeks ago or something, this happened. I'm like, actually, it wasn't 2 weeks ago. It was like 3 months ago. Really? What's it matter? Why do I have to critique small things like that? But that's disrespect in his eyes. Another wife admits mothering her husband. As mothers, it is built into us to be instructors. That's a major part of motherhood. But it is extremely difficult to differentiate our roles between mother and wife. For instance, when baby comes along, dad seems at a loss and asks what to do, and we instruct dad. Over time, we start instructing in many areas. Or say, I still see myself. Honey, she doesn't like that. Honey, maybe you should do it this way. Maybe you should talk to them this way. Maybe you should go do this with them. It's a hard balance to be a mom and a wife and know the difference between constructing our children and refraining from constructing our husbands with our children. If you respect your husband, he will love you. It may not be the same ways you love him, but he will in his own way. And throughout this book, they give so many different letters and emails of women that have tried it and it has worked and they have seen amazing results. So to stop the crazy cycle, someone has to go first. It would be easy if we said, well, yeah, if he loved us, it would be easier to respect him. But we have to go first. You won't become a doormat. Recognize that we may fail to see and hear the way he does, just as much as we think that he doesn't understand us, or he doesn't think the way that we do, or he fails to see how unloving he is. We need to recognize that we may fail to see how disrespectful we may be. So some of the things that I came up with after reading 1 through 5 was different types of disrespect that I could think of off the top of my head, of ways that I may be disrespectful in my own relationship. That would be because we want to make sure that we are respectful in ways that are right to him, ways that we know that he feels disrespected or respected. So ways that I could think of in my own relationship would be talking about problems that I have with him to others. He does not, as I'm sure most men don't like me talking about problems specifically about him to others, in front of others, or in front of our kids. Another situation would be telling him how to do something. I like to be a problem solver, and it's hard for me to see my husband have a problem and not try to jump in and tell him, oh, you could do it this way, when he's fixing something, or he likes to work with wood and build things. And it's hard for me to say, oh, maybe if you try it this way. But he sees that as disrespectful also. I've learned that. Because it comes off as if I know better. And maybe I don't know better. Another area I thought of was correcting him. Like I said, listening to conversations, listening to stories that he's talking about, and correcting little things. And in the end, it may be that I'm right. But is it worth it? Is it worth it to be right? No. Okay, can you think of anything? Any areas that we may not see that we're being disrespectful?
I want to share something different. One thing that stood out to me in the book is respect is a choice, not a feeling.
Yes.
It's a choice. So that was one thing that was like, oh, okay. Because, sometimes you are in me being in women's ministry, I have had situations where women have told me things that their husband has done, but you don't understand. I can't, like, how can I respect him when he's doing this and this and this and this? And it's like,
Mhm.
well, respect isn't a feeling. You're hurt, and y because he's doing these things, so you're feeling hurt,
Mhm.
and you may not feel like you want to show respect, but it's a command from God, and it's a choice that you have. E I guess the question better phrased would be, what do I do if I don't feel respect for him?
Mhm.
It doesn't matter if you feel it. You don't have to feel it to choose it. That was one huge thing that I thought was really good in the book. It's like, okay, I'm gonna be able to use that one. You don't have to feel it. You just have to choose it.
Yeah, and I think of how easy is it for us to show respect to
Mhm.
total strangers or our
Yeah,
bosses or people that we're not sharing a home with. But how hard
yeah,
is it to display respect to our own spouse?
right.
Like we would never talk. I tell my kids that you would never talk this way to your teacher. Why do you talk this way to your mom? Well, we should think the same thing about our husbands.
Yep, exactly.
Because when they feel disrespected, it would be like us feeling unloved. It's the
Hmm.
same energizer and the same
Yeah,
killer.
yeah, and it is. It's just a repeating cycle that
Mhm.
nobody wins, everybody loses.
Yeah, so
Is
at some
all it
point,
is.
somebody has to make the decision to break the
Right.
cycle. And
Exactly.
whoever hears this book first.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah, this was one book that I've been wanting to read for a really, really long time, and I don't know how. I just never it never became priority until you said you were reading it. I'm like, oh, perfect. This is the time.
Yeah. And it brought a lot of recognition. Like I said, one of my light bulb moments was when he talks about I place my identity on what he thinks of me. And I have expressed that, and I've never realized that that was a thing that other people also did.
Mm, yeah. I mean, you do that, and yeah, as wives, you want your husbands to be proud of you. You want them to think that you're doing a good job. You want them to look at you and look at you through loving eyes, and you want them to, you know, need you, think that you're pretty, like all of these little things. Um,
We want to be the princess in his world, is what he goes on to say.
exactly. Exactly. Like you desire that, but at the
Mhm.
same time, we have to understand too that okay, especially put yourself in a situation of maybe a woman who doesn't have that in her marriage at all. None of
Mhm.
it. And it's just unhealthy, maybe. You can't if you put your entire identity in that person, then you have a codependency issue,
Mhm.
and you don't know who you are in Christ. Like you don't have your identity rooted and grounded in Jesus. And so that is an important aspect of it too. While, yes, as a wife, you naturally feel all those things and desire those things, but you can't let your full identity be derived from that, from those, from you basically being, from you receiving those things that you want and desire. If you
Yeah.
don't receive them, that doesn't change who you are as a person in God's eyes, because you don't have to prove, while we feel like we have to prove ourselves to our husbands, you don't have to prove yourself to God, because
Yeah.
he already approves of you. And just like you mentioned, our husbands don't have to earn our respect. They don't have to do anything to earn it. It's something that we give because God said to. That's why. And
I felt
yeah,
like him putting words to it helped bring it to
Yes.
light, like recognize that that is something that we feel. And like you said, I mean, ultimately we put our identity through what Christ
Mhm.
says we are and who we are.
Yeah.
But I feel like him putting words to it was like, oh, bringing it to light.
Yeah. Yep. I used to struggle with that terrible, like always feeling like I had to prove myself. Sometimes still do.
Mhm.
It's like I have to remind myself often I don't have to prove anything to anyone because I am already approved of by God. So I that's something that I like tell myself. I don't have to prove anything.
I
So
feel like that helps give us the freedom to be able to show respect without even
Mhm.
feeling love in return.
Exactly. Yep. Yep.
It's a choice, like you said.
Hmm.
I often say love is a choice. Like if you feel like
Yep.
you're not going where you should be in a marriage, divorce is not even an option in my marriage. And
No.
that's something we can
No.
agree on because it's a choice
Yeah.
daily. And respect is a choice,
Definitely.
whether you should have love or not in return.
I think that is what makes the big difference in marriages, whether or not they have a mindset of is divorce an option. Like
Mhm.
if that is even a word in your vocabulary, that's not good. Like it should never ever be an option on the table.
Yeah.
It's just not an option. And I mean, I know there's situations that I mean, you can't control people. So,
And I love that he proves in this book with testimony after testimony of
mhm,
a wife showing respect to her husband, and he
yeah.
does react in love.
Yeah.
So it's proven in this book.
Yep.
It really does just come down to all those like little things because Mitchell and I hit a spot. I don't know, it's been a while ago now. Oliver was still pretty little. But I remember reaching out to his sister and I was like, we were just having an area and it would probably if I take the time to go back to it, came back to wasn't respecting him, so I wasn't feeling the love that I needed to feel. Because I will say, as I've been reading this, I'm not quite to chapter 5 yet. I'm like, oh my gosh, it's like he's talking about me.
Yeah.
But I remember reaching out to her and I was like, I just don't know if I can do this anymore. I didn't want a divorce and I don't think I'll ever want a divorce. I don't ever see myself splitting up with Mitchell, but it was there because it was just getting too hard. And it was a lack of one, communication, and two, those two basic things.
Mhm.
Because like Alyssa was pointing out, I can think back right now to things I do that aren't serious in my head or like when I do them, but I guarantee he's feeling like I don't respect him.
Mm-hmm. Just like the husband forgetting the birthday card or the getting a birthday card instead of the anniversary card. Like those would be huge to us. Little things like that could be huge to them.
Yes, I could see myself with it. I mean, not getting mad like the woman in the example did, but being like, you literally couldn't have even read the card.
Mm-hmm.
Like, are you kidding me? Because we would, as women, we would take that time to really pick through the cards.
Yeah.
Because it's just how we're different.
Mm-hmm. Because love is
Yep.
natural to us.
Yeah.
Respect
Yep.
is not.
Yeah, that's a new concept for me, that love is natural to us and respect is not. Like, I don't know. I would say I'm a person that shows respect. Maybe I don't. Maybe I need to dig into that more. I don't know, but I don't know. I
I
need
don't
to
know.
figure
Yeah.
that out more.
I kind of think back to what like Bliss was saying, because I can remember even when I was a kid and going to parent teacher conferences, my mom would be like, they always say all these great things about you. Not that I don't think you're a great kid, but she's like, man, but when you're at home, you're totally different.
Uh-huh.
And I think that way. There's people at work I would never ever not show respect to, or people in certain areas of my life, and it almost makes me wonder, like, are we more prone to disrespect because we're more comfortable
Yeah.
with people?
Mm-hmm.
which would
Yep.
make you think if you're more comfortable with them, the more you would want to respect them. because
Exactly.
You feel that comfort.
Exactly.
I think with our husbands, we grow comfortable to criticize
Mhm.
them or critique them in little
Right.
things. And it may be a simple comment like, I wish you would do that better, or why do you do that? That can come off
Yeah,
as complete disrespect.
Exactly. Those things come out of my mouth. Oh, for sure.
Yep.
And that really, I think with me, definitely stems back to that, like, in my head, I'm like, but I'm not disrespecting him. I just care, But he's definitely feeling that as a, like, wow, am I not good enough to you? Like,
Yep.
you have to critique all these little things about me. And I feel like if he did those things to me, it would not be well received.
Yep. Pink and blue sunglasses.
For sure,
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I don't even think it matters how many years you've been married. It's a continual choice, and there has to be continued growth. And I think it's important to like these books like Love and Respect, the 5 Love Languages. There's other ones out there. There's lots of them. But it's good to continually like study these things. Because I mean, think about the greatest command that the Lord gave us was to love others. And so if that is our main command that we are to follow is love God and love people, then it would seem like it is probably a good use of our time to study love and to practice it over and over and over and to continue studying that forever. And especially in a covenant relationship, like that is our number one. That is the one that is most important. And it's a forever and ever and ever working of two people choosing to love and respect. And there's always going to be something. There's always going to be a new hurdle, a new challenge, something that irritates you, something that made you feel unloved, or something that's like, oh, am I being ignored? Like, it's a continual thing, and the enemy wants nothing more than to play in our minds with those cycles and to cause division. And the thing is, this is from Charlie Kirk. Whenever people stop talking, that's whenever violence happens, when people stop talking. That's when wars break out. That's when divorces happen. That's when church splits happen, when people stop talking. And so it's important that, I mean, the communication, no matter how hard it is, or no matter how intense or how much anxiety it gives you to think about confronting issues, like it is so important to learn how to, in a healthy way, confront issues and have healthy conversation around whatever it is going on. Because I mean, especially in covenant, you're with this person forever and ever and ever, for all of life, and you got to work out the issues.
Mm-hmm.
So
And I have learned that even if you're right, don't be afraid to apologize. Like,
yeah.
just apologize, because your delivery could be completely
Mhm.
wrong, even if you're right.
Yeah. Yep. This one's good, Liz. This is a good one. I knew it would be.
Yeah.
All right. Is that all you got?
That's it.
Okay. I will share this recording in there, and I'm sure, I don't know, next week it might be a better time for some people. So
2 weeks.
hopefully we'll have more on here. Yeah, 2 weeks from now. Yep.
September
Hopefully we'll have some more on
26th.
here. Yep. September 26th. Is that the day? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That's right around the time Ella and Kristen will be getting back from. Okay. Okay. All right. That's all.
All right. Bye.
Okay. Talk to y'all later.